And welcome back to coverage here of the World Championship from Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe, and I'm with Paul Cheon. We're covering a little bit of booster draft, right where we're supposed to be, right, Paul? This is our, this is what we're supposed to be doing. And we just got a chance to watch Simon Nielsen draft his deck. Red, black, aggro, little bit of a sacrifice sub-theme thrown in there. He's going to be facing down Derrick Davis, and we just got a chance to look at his deck list as well. A little bit to unpack there, but overall, he was the one who was in green at the table.
Yeah, he was the green drafter, and he's got kind of a nice little brew going here. It's going to be really interesting to see kind of how these two decks match up, because he's got a much slower deck that's kind of looking to go into the late game.
Take a look at Derrick Davis and Simon Nielsen here. 2024 Pro Tours, same amount, slightly different results. Take a look at Simon's deck. This is the one that we just watched get drafted. 16 land special here, curves out to 3 as far as the creatures go. So this is going to be a lot of action early. Very different take here from Derrick Davis, though. Take a look at his list. He is green, black primarily, though he is splashing for Trapped in the Screen, a couple of Ride of the Moths, and a patch play thing for some reason. Yeah.
If you reanimate it, it comes into play as a 4/3.
Right, and he has Valgavoth's Onslaught. Like, he might be able to do something tricky with it. But also, by the way, Paul, he has Valgavoth's Onslaught.
He does have Valgavoth's Onslaught, and that's the primary win condition here. But I will say this deck looks really slow.
Really slow. Basically, if he can do the Reanimator thing, I think he can take over. He has a Miasma Demon as well, which is really good against Simon. If you can reanimate it, have a few cards in hand. But I like Simon's position here for sure. Like, he is much more consistent, much more aggressive, and I think he'll be able to get the job done.
Yeah,
against a slow deck like this with mana issues potential.
Yeah, this seems like the perfect matchup actually here for Simon. Playing against a 3-color, somewhat clunky deck that's playing double Withering Torment, which is just terrible against Simon's deck. It's like 3 mana, kill your Fear of Lost Teeth, take 2 damage.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're playing Simon's list and your opponent says like Moldering Gem, you're like, sweet.
Right. But
although this is a good start. Patchwork BC to kick things off for Derrick. No 1-drop from Simon, which is a little surprising, as he's almost guaranteed to follow that up with a 2. The BC, of course, not online yet. It just put the Branch Snapper into the graveyard. That could be a big deal, Paul.
Right, with the triple reanimation spells in Derrick's deck. That's a really great mill.
And there's a patch play thing, another good reanimate target. Razorkin Needlehead on turn 2. We mentioned the mana situation for Simon. He did skew his mana to enable this, and that's what he's done. Monstrous Emergence is going to take care of that Needlehead, though, after only the 1 trigger. Tapland now from Davis, as he has 2 of his 3 colors still represented. Passes the turn back to Nielsen.
Yeah, and one thing for Derrick here, he's now got 3 types in the graveyard, so 1 more type in the yard will unlock the Patchwork Beastie there that's in play.
So this might be a good turn to sprint in for a couple of damage here from Nielsen while the sprint is good.
Yeah, it seems that way. Can't block just yet.
So a couple of damage. And down to 17. Goes Derrick Davis, and there's the 4th land type for you. So Patchwork Beastie right on time, just clean 4 cards in the yard, 3 of them from the Beastie, and off we go. In fact, it's going to turn sideways here.
Yeah, but we'll note this is the cost of playing a 3-color deck, right? Look at Derrick's hand. You have the Onslaught, but there's a couple of black spells he can't cast. But if you can just find land number 5, casting an Onslaught for 2 here, totally fine.
Totally fine, especially considering he has Trapped in the Screen to have a good, clean answer for the sprinter. 4 lands. Simon doesn't have anything that costs 4 mana in his deck. He has stuff that costs more than that if you count rooms, but nothing else.
I think he's going to go Playmate here into Infection on his creature, because you can target your own.
And then target the player.
Right.
And that's going to get rid of the Patchwork Beastie and leave the Ragged Playmate behind.
Derrick wants a land here. Just wants an untapped land to Valgavoth's Onslaught here for 2.
Ooh, he's going to have to settle for much worse than that in this case. It's going to be House Cartographer. A little late in the game.
I wanted this card to be so good, Marshall.
I thought it would be.
It's literally worse than every other green 2-drop.
It is not good.
Oh, look at this, the Mirth.
This is a play. Disturbing Mirth. Sacrifice the Infection for value now. And honestly, Simon needs it, because just the fact that we're at this stage of the game is bad news for Simon Nielsen. He has so many cards that he can draw at this point that are like 1/1s. Right, where Derrick Davis with 4 lands already, he could start building up his mana. If he hits another land drop, start playing 5 drops. All right, well, that's the top end of Simon's creature curve with Vicious Clown.
And if you notice, Simon actually playing it super safe here, because you could just attack with the Playmate and just offer the trade, or just get in for 2 damage, and you still have a 2/3 to block the Cartographer. But Simon valuing the ability of the Playmate here, and also, oh, well.
There's a land, and it was a swamp. So Valgavas Onslaught, that is the card I'd like to open the most in the format. It is not necessarily the literal top best card in the format, but it leaves you the most open, it's splashable, and it's in a color I want to be in anyway. And this is why. That was 5 mana. 2 3/3s.
For 8 power and 8 toughness on the battlefield. Good luck, Simon. You've got your work cut out for you here.
Yeah, 2 4/4s, excuse me. And Simon just doesn't have the ability to deal with this. And look at this, right off the top, Clockwork Percussionist.
Yeah, and he's got Final Vengeance in hand. So you go Final Vengeance, sack Disturbing Mirth, get one of the 4/4s off the battlefield. That's step 1. Not bad here.
Is he going to make the Clown unblockable?
And then he's probably going to play the Percussionist. It's a nice little combo, and you can smack in for 4 unblockable damage here if you like. Oh, you can get in for 6, right? Because you Final Vengeance,
yes.
You manifest off of Disturbing Mirth.
Mm-hmm. They do all stack up. That's the one cool thing about the Clown, actually. Okay, so since these both came in at the same time and had similar graveyard interactions, Nielsen is just going to leave it to random which one he's going to kill.
Right. So the only time you would actually have know which one to target is when your opponent manifests a creature into the graveyard. Mm-hmm. Then you know that the manifest one is 100% a creature, right? It's just they're going to want to flip it up. Then you want to target that. But if, for example, they just put 2 lands in their graveyard off both the manifest, then you just roll a die because you have no way of knowing.
Which is what happened here. You'll also see a number next to the manifest, like Simon says, manifest 3. That's just to signify in which order those came onto the battlefield.
Oh, he hit a gremlin.
Did he really?
A little extra value. Wow.
And the Percussionist, so there's another trigger. This is really good.
Yeah, this is an attack for 6.
Thank you. Blockable.
6 damage.
That should be 6, right? Yes.
And Simon does have a lot of incidental damage in this deck. You know, Fear of Lost Teeth, like, you can go to the dome with those. It's a little bit of extra damage here or there.
Right, and he's got Turn Inside Out
in his hand.
So you can, especially with the Ragged Playmate, you can make something unblockable, particularly the Clown.
Right.
And then play a creature to give Turn Inside Out. So you can potentially kill Derrick out of nowhere. Derrick probably needs to find an answer to this Playmate if he wants to kind of stick around, because right now he's not really in a position to get in for big attacks here. Okay.
I like this attack from Derrick. Simon would much prefer not to lose the Irreverent Gremlin. Right. And the damage matters a little bit, but the House Cartographer trigger from Survival, that could be a big deal. Ooh, there's his Live or Die. Long Neck. Oh, there's a Miasma Demon.
And all these go to the bottom. Ooh, that's probably the worst land. Just because
that has to be, yeah.
Just it's a tapped effect, especially with Rite of the Moth. You just kind of wanted to naturally find a swamp here, probably.
Yeah, at least he can, I guess. I think Simon's saying, do I need to shuffle these, or are you going to crack that thing anyway?
Right. Oh, never mind. He's got the black-white land, and given that he's at 11 life, it comes into play on tap. He can still play Rite of the Moth on the Branch Snapper, I believe. I think that's probably what he's going to do here.
Yeah.
Gets a finality counter. I don't know if you have something for that.
There's finality counters at the judge station.
Does pick up a finality counter. This is scary stuff for Derrick Davis, because that was a big play for him. He just put easily the biggest creature out. Realistically, he could pile up some type of 2-turn clock here, but the Ragged Playmate is really annoying for him.
Oh, I thought Simon's return, Trial of Agony. But that is a Violent Urge. Is that going to give him enough? Does he have Delirium on his side?
That's the question, isn't it?
Sorcery, land, enchantment, and creature. So yes, he does have Delirium. So that's
the clown's only 2 power though,
2
right?
power. You turn inside out, that's 5. Violent Urge is 6. Double strike, that's 12, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, Paul.
Oh.
Does he just go for it? There are 2 mana available.
It's green and white. I don't. Yeah, you just go for it.
He's just gonna go for it.
It's 12 damage.
I guess sees from slumber or something in his mind, but whatever, he's just going for it. And that is going to steal the victory. And I have a feeling that Simon is going to win a lot of games like that, right? Where it's like, I got you kind of low, and then I just attacked with everything and pumped up something and then got a teeth trigger or whatever, and I ended up finding the win. Wow. Game number 1 goes to Simon Nielsen, somehow navigating his way through to find a victory. You know, Derrick had, what, he had a 4-4, a 2-2, and a 7-6 trample on his side against a bunch of little 2-powered creatures, and Simon still found the victory there.
Yeah, Derrick just not having enough interaction there. That playmate really, really was extremely pivotal there for Simon. If he doesn't have the playmate, he just can't really make anything happen there.
Exactly. Derrick Davis has a 2-drop this time, but it's not going to affect the board. It'd say its name. He's went to grab the cartographer.
I don't think he has a planes. Maybe if he had an untapped planes. No, you can't take the trap in screen anyways. It's just creature or lands.
Yeah, there's the Fear of Lost Teeth that we talked about before from Nielsen on turn 1. Back over to him.
There's that Disturbing Mirth that we talked about. If you really you lose your creature, but you get to draw 2 cards.
A little incidental damage in there.
But I think you can just run out another Fear of Lost Teeth probably, especially because you have turn inside out. So if Derrick just plays a random creature, you just attack, turn inside out, and just get another 2/2 there.
Derrick has to be kind of bummed to have taken the House Cartographer. I mean,
right,
not the choice, but that's what he ended up with. Facing down 2 Fear of Lost Teeth, it's like, this is never going to happen.
Yeah, and he's got that Withering Torment, which looks so bad on this board.
Jeez.
So funnily enough, Simon actually needing more red sources here to try to get a double spell turn. Looks like there's a swamp in hand. So can only play one thing here. Couldn't choose to still just attack with both. At least one. Okay, looking to do it with both. And then you can just run out of ticket booth here, I suppose. It's the best use of your mana this turn. I don't think playing a Disturbing Mirth does a whole lot here.
Right. There's Ticket Booth. He's just going to manifest Dread here.
And then now if you're on Derrick's side, if you really want to be aggressive and really need lands, you can just use Withering Torment on the manifest token here, attack with the Cartographer, get a trigger. Oh, he hit Undead Sprinter in the yard.
Sprinter, man.
Wow. You got 2.
Going for full value. Back over to Derrick Davis.
Getting the value. I'm a sucker for value too. You got it.
Yeah, this is, what is this, a land? Yeah, got him. But in the meantime, the Cartographer does get to come in. It's a forest. I believe Derrick already had one of those, but fair enough.
So Simon really wants to find a mountain here. Because if you can go Mirth, sack your ticket booth, find a, or excuse me, I guess you have to sack a creature. If you go Mirth, sack your Fear of Lost Teeth, then you can play the Undead Sprinter from your graveyard.
But he needs a second red source to do both.
Right, but
but he'll find one, right?
Yeah, he can. I mean, the other play is just playing Dragonfire. I feel like Disturbing Mirth might be what you want to do here. You can attack first, but remember the Sprinter can also attack.
The Sprinter, yeah. I think you gamble and just hope to hit that red source because he doesn't have one right now.
You go 1 to the face?
Heck yeah. Upstairs.
Mountain.
Every bit of damage is going to matter
Needs
here.
a mountain.
He gets 2 cards off of this.
Boom.
Bingo! That's a mountain. And now he gets to play both, and that worked beautifully. He's going to breathe a sigh of relief after having seen that mountain come off the top there.
And look at how aggressive Simon is being here, because a lot of people, a ton of people in this spot would only attack with the Undead Sprinter and leave the Fear of Lost Teeth back. It's like, I get in for 1, you get in for 2, and you get a land. But Simon recognizing what his role is in this matchup, and every point of damage is important.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, this is where the survival mechanic becomes difficult because it really is almost always an offense-only type mechanic. There are a few ways to tap your creatures in the set without attacking, but there's not that many. Most of the time, you just need to turn them sideways.
Derrick's hand literally does nothing.
Can he not cast anything?
He can cast Moldering Gym and get a land. He can play Defiled Crypt, but there's nothing to return. And this is the problem with kind of reanimation-style decks, right? It's got a high ceiling when everything goes right and you hit a big creature or whatever. Right now, he's got nothing.
He just can't do anything.
You can cycle the Branch Snapper and get it back, but that's
Rite of the Moth doesn't have any targets, even if he could cast it?
Right, so...
Oh, what a terrible position here for Davis. His deck is much less focused than Simon Nielsen's, and we're seeing it here.
Yeah, and at this point, take a look at Simon's hand, too. It is absurd.
Percussionist turn inside out. Dragonfire Final Vengeance?
He's got it all. I just don't see Derrick even able to come back.
No way.
He plays a 7/6. It doesn't matter.
And he leaves the Cartographer back, but even that doesn't have good blocks here.
And with the 1 white mana, what could you have? I guess you could have Jump Scare or Shard Mage's Rescue. But you could just fire off the Dragonfire, see what happens, and then also just run out the Percussionist, get in for 5 this turn. Also, now we're getting to land number 5. That Simon drew land number 5. Now we're 1 mana away from Tunnel of Hate, too.
Yeah. And that works really well with the Sprinter.
I suppose the most aggressive line is to use Final Vengeance, sacrificing your Disturbing Mirth to kill the Cartographer, because if you did that, then you get an extra 2/2 on the following turn. But then you have to think about, well, what's the biggest thing Derrick can play?
Right.
How can he stabilize? Does he have a giant life-linking creature that I need to be afraid of? Being aggressive here, I think.
Going? Maximum effort.
Yep.
Wow. Okay. Simon Nielsen taking the most aggressive possible line here.
And it's funny, the Exile is just so important here. There's a Defiled Crypt in play. He's got some reanimation stuff, but can't even return that.
Wow.
What if he hits another Undead Sprinter here? So much. He's 2 damage away from lethal, it looks like.
Take 5.
Yeah. Oh,
he is actually going to go
3
for
damage.
the 8. Wow.
At 2.
Because he's just basically saying, Derrick, you can make any one play,
Doesn't matter.
and I'll be able to get through.
You can play Valgavott's Onslaught for 2 and you're still dead.
And you're dead. This is awesome to watch Simon work, right? Because you can see in game 1 how he positioned himself with a little bit of more of a tricky kind of board state here. He's recognized that it is appropriate to go for maximum damage at every point to the face with Fear of Lost Teeth, just using, you know, pump spells as lava spikes. I mean, that was awesome stuff from him. And he, of course, ends up taking down round number 1. Good start for Simon Nielsen.
Yeah, and Simon Nielsen just playing so well. Of course you expect it for somebody who has the potential here now to be back-to-back player of the year. I don't even know when the last time that even happened was. Probably it was Kai or somebody like that. But it's just absolutely a delight to just watch him work, make slightly less intuitive lines than I think a lot of people would make. And also, that Disturbing Mirth pick. How good was Disturbing Mirth in both of those games?
It worked out.
Right? It did work out.
It worked out really well as the pack 3 broke for him. All right, well, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, though, we'll have more round 1 action here from World Championship 30. Don't go anywhere. And welcome back to coverage here of the Magic the Gathering World Championship. Marshall Sutcliffe with Paul Cheon. We're in Las Vegas, Nevada, and we're in the first round of booster draft. We just got to see Simon Nielsen seal the deal against Derrick Davis there in our opening round. Very aggressive deck against a much slower one. Very different matchup coming to you this one. We've got two heavy hitters as well. Shota Yasooka and Yoshihiko Ikawa are sitting across from each other, and they're going to be battling it out. We actually are going to be joining this one in the second game. Ikawa picked up the first game against the Hall of Famer, and I was a little surprised to see that, honestly. We looked at the deck list. It's not that his deck's bad. It's green-white, which is very not favored archetype. It might be the worst one in the of the 10.
Let's put it this way, Marshall. I started winning a lot more after I stopped drafting green-white.
Yes,
so
I did the same thing.
I was like, ooh, this is cool. I get to be aggressive. I get to trigger my survival stuff. No.
In the on the other side, though, Shota Yasooka has some of the best cards in the set. Straight up, he's got Ghostly Dancers, which is a top-tier bomb, let's say. And he's got some nice support for it as well.
Yeah, he just has a very, well, looks like a very, very solid blue-white Eerie deck with bombs. So
with the bombs to go with it.
The fact that Ikawa won game one somehow is probably a testament to his skill.
That's right.
He's a great player.
Shota's going to play the cheerleader here. Acrobatic cheerleader. Wow, it's going to get in and pick up the counter. That never happens.
That is a rarity indeed. I guess if you're on the play. No turn 3 play here for Shota. A shrewd storyteller from Ikawa. I wonder if he has some answer for that.
Shrewd Storyteller was the card that kind of sucked me into this archetype early, and I don't trust it anymore.
Yeah.
It told me a few too many stories. Let's just say.
Well, Ikawa is positioned here. If he's got some kind of a combat trick or maybe a baseball bat or something like that, could attack, get in. Now, of course, Shota can just be like, I just take it, and let's just race, right? Because he's the one who's got the cheerleader in play, so.
Yeah, and he manifested here off of Slimy Aquarium.
Finality.
Finality.
No, not finality. Flying.
Oh, they give me that. Sorry.
There we go.
Will be interesting to see how Shota wants to approach this if Ikawa does attack. You know, I was kind of making fun of the storyteller, but you don't want to let it get going.
Oh, yeah.
That is a problem.
But when you're tapped out and your white-green opponent, like the one thing green-white has is a lot of combat tricks, right? You have Jump Scare, Frantic Surge, Horrid Vigor. There's just a lot of things that your opponents can have. So it's pretty tough to be able to just go with the block here. But of course, it also just depends on what Shota's follow-up here is. We do see the Jump Scare here and an Under Skin. Shota's like, nope. Not with all that.
That life total was done before that card was turned sideways.
He was already at 16.
Yeah, so Ikawa, Savior of the Small is going to be the follow-up for him. Man, he's really in the survival deck. It's not just green-white beats, like he's surviving too.
This is survival thing. Ooh.
Ooh, Lionheart Glimmer there, though, is going to hit, and that really does increase this clock.
7?
Wow.
It's an attack for 7, and now Ikawa's already down to 9, I believe, right?
He took
4 and then 7.
4 and then the 7, yeah.
With the Glimmer trigger there. And now the Glimmer can just
It's a nice big blocker.
Can technically block, but if you want to play around the jump scare, you just kind of let it happen. It's like if you want to attack me, go for it. I'm the one who's winning the race here. I have the Glimmer in play.
It's going to be very difficult for Ikawa to win the race after that Glimmer hit the battlefield.
Yeah, he's got that jump scare. If you can maybe survive and get Shota just low enough, maybe you can kind of get a free win by giving a creature flying right at the end. So might be interested in doing something like that. You can probably just safely attack here and just not worry about a block. You kind of want the block, to be honest.
Yeah. Hey, under skin.
Maybe a baseball bat or something? Flesh Burrower.
He gets Flesh Burrower back.
Yeah. So that would be a nice follow-up play here because that allows you to block the Manifest or the Glimmer while also potentially getting in an attack here.
Yeah, if he can stem the bleeding to just the cheerleader, that'll buy him enough time to keep building out this board and maybe try to punch back. But if he's still vulnerable to attacks by the ground creatures, he's going to lose this race real quick.
It's kind of funny. If Ikawa was going to attack with the Savior, he was going to get back the burrow.
It would come back no matter what. I think that would be the first time that Savior the Small ever
returned something.
Yeah, never seen it. Don't
Ooh,
it.
blocking.
Okay, there's the jump scare. That does take out the Lionheart Glimmer. Also double triggers on survival. Maybe a Ray of Hope.
All right, now that's a 3/3 manifest token. Okay.
Land number 6 for Shota.
So an Inquisitive Glimmer in his hand. But at this point, the Glimmer's effectiveness is not quite as relevant here. Now, Shota does have a number of good removal spells in his deck. He actually has a fair number of interaction. We're looking at a couple of Trapped into Screens, a Seize from Slumber, and one of the best uncommons in the set, Sheltered by Ghost. That card is phenomenal. Just swing, especially in a situation like this where you just have 2 decks just kind of, it's just a total race here, right? You just put that on the cheerleader.
So hard.
Okay, now we can actually see his hand. See a Trapped in the Screen, an Erratic Apparition, and an Inquisitive Glimmer. I imagine Trapped in the Screen will at least be a card that's played here, and then he just kind of has to choose between either the Glimmer or the Apparition. Apparition flies, right? And I don't know that you need a 2/3, so. Oh, wait. Oh, wait.
Oh, that's
Didn't know about that one.
under there. Very nice. So speaking of flyers.
Is that an attack for 5? Is that a counter? So that's a 2-turn clock here now.
It is. He just needs to survive this turn, so Trapped in the Screen.
And so now he can go Glimmer into Trapped in the Screen.
Yeah.
Oh.
He must not have one of those.
He must not. Okay.
So he's going to go Erratic Apparition instead.
See, maybe saving a Trapped in the Screen. Maybe he's concerned about something else too.
Yeah. He is setting up for, if he doesn't take lethal here, any 2 of his creatures getting in, because he has a Trapped in the Screen, would be lethal as well.
Right, because right now, what are we looking at? An attack for 10, and Shota's at 14. So
you could just say sure.
Is he just not going to block?
Yeah, I mean, he needs 2 combat tricks to kill you, and there's already a jump scare in the yard.
Yeah, if Ikawa played land number 6, that would be scarier, because then you'd be worried about a Branch Snapper flipping up.
Right.
Oh,
he took it. He wants to maintain lethal in the air.
Oh, and this guarantees
lethal. And that's it, and that's a Shepherding Spirit, so that would have actually prevented lethal, but instead, all he has to do is simply cast Trapped in the Screen, and he will win the game, let alone taking out the blocker and all the extra damage. Man, high-level stuff from Shota Yasooka. He recognized it's going to be really hard for you to kill me from 14 here. I'm going to preserve lethal, and he does exactly that. Looks like he's on 6 cards for game number 3 here, Paul.
Yeah. Nice calculated decision. It's like if you have the kill, then so be it, right? And but if you don't, then I know for sure I'm going to win. Does he not have a Plains?
Here's our friend, the House Cartographer, hits the battlefield again.
It's gonna connect.
It is triggered so many times today. We're in round 1. He's gonna hit a forest off of it.
Shota mulliganed and kept the double island all white card hand.
Wow, and look at this curve, 2-drop into 3-drop. Oh, wow. He may be able to get back into this. The Shrewd Storyteller hits on 3.
Yeah.
If he didn't draw that there, he was probably just dead.
And he's just running out the creature. He's got a Seize from Slumber in hand too.
He's gonna try to block.
But he's just gonna hope that this block works.
Yeah, the Cult Healer has to get in front of the Shrewd Storyteller. You figure that Ikawa already would have attacked with both if he had the jump scare or something, so maybe a little window here for Shota.
Oh, I see a Glimmer Light, though. If that's a Glimmer Light, then you can...
On Ikawa's side?
On Ikawa's side, I believe.
He can get one or both, depending on how he wants to approach this in.
I imagine it would just go on the Storyteller.
Just turn it sideways, yeah.
It probably has a ton of good options at this point.
Glimmer Light, very overlookable card early in the format, but it is a player. That you see that card all the time.
Yeah, in an aggressive deck, I just like it in most decks. I will almost never cut one in most of my decks, but in an aggressive deck, it's just fantastic. And the thing is, so much of this format is about small creatures kind of fighting each other, right, with the existence of all the manifest cards. So I think Glimmer Light just does a really good job of helping you kind of...
Maybe he does have the combat trick. He just attacked with both. No play so far.
He also doesn't necessarily need to... Well, he doesn't necessarily need to have the combat trick here. You know, maybe he just thinks Shota will
He's
not
kind
block.
of forced to block.
Yeah. Oh,
that's the question is,
right?
Because he does have to block, and he just has a jump scare, so
Yeah.
all of that for nothing. It was just more about mana efficiency there. But this is going to guarantee him his 4th land.
Yeah, this
It's going to be. It felt to me like Shota kind of needed to just pray that he didn't have the pump spell, and he did. And now he gets Hardened Escort down as well. And there are worlds. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. If he can curve into Ghostly Dancers and not be dead, he could come back. But
he needed a Plains here. If he had a Plains, he could have gone Glimmer into Seize from Slumber or Trapped in the Screen, right? So that allows you to block the Hardened Escort and do some extra stuff beyond that. But given that you're just kind of stuck playing 1 removal spell a turn, you're still taking a bunch of damage. It's a really, really tough spot here for Shota.
Does he just have to? He has to use a removal spell one way or the other.
Yeah,
right?
It's like, do you want to Trapped or do you want to Seize from Slumber?
Right. More mana efficient to use Trap, to use up your 3 mana now. Take out the Shrewd Storyteller, pass. You know, he's at 15, he's facing down 5 power. It's not the end of the world if there's a Plains on top of his library.
This is the best cartographer I've ever seen in my life.
No kidding. I've seen more triggers today than in the rest of the format. Okay, there's the Glimmer Light.
So this is going to be an attack for 6 possibly here?
Yeah, it does look like it. Is there a Plains on top for Shota? And no answer for Ikawa. Because that's the recipe.
Jeez.
Oh, he just
It's
keeps
too
coming
much.
with it. Was it a Plains?
I think it was a Plains.
It looked like a Plains.
But it might be too little too late.
It might be. He's at 8 now.
There's no room in play for the Ghostly Dancers, right? If you had an Elegant Rotunda or something in play, then you could obviously make another 3/1 flyer here. But right now,
so what would happen?
You can go Seize from Slumber, probably on the Hardened Escort, right? Because that gives something else indestructible, and then
a little bump.
And then I guess Inquisitive Glimmer is like the other thing you can play.
And then that gets in the way of Fear of Surveillance or the Glimmer.
Yeah.
It does leave him alive. I mean, it's precarious.
But Ikawa has a card in hand that is pretty strong in green-white. That is the Baseball Bat.
Oh, he's got the Baseball Bat. So Yasooka's going to go for the high upside play here. He's going to go for the Ghostly Dancers, hoping to do it, but it's going to get tapped down, and that is a victory for Yoshihiko Ikawa. Honestly, that's the worst deck. Not his, but the worst archetype versus the best.
Yeah.
And he just picked up a win against Hall of Famer with it.
Well, I mean, the thing is, I will say Ikawa did have a pretty reasonable version of that deck. No shortage of combat tricks, good curve. That's always going to be able to punish a person who stumbles. I think you play this matchup a bunch of times over. I think Yasooka would be a pretty heavy favorite here, given the bombs that he had. But, you know, game 3, mulligan to 6, have to kind of keep the two island hand on the draw, and he just didn't quite get there. And Ikawa, of course, not going to slow down at all and try to just push the pedal to the metal and get Yasooka dead there. So,
yeah. Also, at the World Championship, the decks are tough. People aren't giving you any gifts at the table, so just having a good curve with combat tricks can get the job done. That's going to do it for our opening round of coverage here from Vegas. We will be back with more after this.